Is it the thrill of the hunt? Hi, I'm Anita Joyce here with Kelly Wellness, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. Today we are talking about collector items that are hot. Not only is it about decor, but it's about fun things that you can go out on a treasure hunt for and then add to your home and make it even more beautiful.
And it's a very interesting topic from another perspective. So today we're not only going to discuss a few things that are hot as collector's items, but also we're going to discuss what motivates the drive to collect. And then maybe we'll even have some time to discuss how you might want to display these fabulous things that you're bringing home. So what people collect is varied, from Beanie Babies to modern art and everything in between. And so it's very interesting to me, at least, to explore why. Why do people collect? Not even so much like why do they collect what they collect, but just the idea of why you would want a collection. So I did a little research. I mean, of course, everybody has ideas in their mind, and they might think about what their own motivation is if they are a collector. But I did a little deep research on the psychoanalytic perspective on collecting. There are a few motivations that sort of bubble to the top. So I thought I'd throw those out there, and maybe we could have a little quick chat about those before we dive into the actual items that we have to share with you today. So number one, and this is in no particular order, but the first one is a selfish motivation. So hoarding. And now it could be that you just, I want all the dishes, or I want all the fill in the blank. But it could be this sense that there's going to be scarcity at some point.
Are you referring to my toilet paper stash? No, I would not call that one of my collections, however. No, I only collect one thing, but it is on this list.
If you've artfully displayed them in some sort of basket or some other item to hold them in, I mean, it could be considered a collection. It is a moving collection. It's kind of like when they rotate art out of the Met.
I guess I need to start displaying them in a decorative fashion.
Absolutely, in odd numbers. So you'd want 3 rolls, 5 rolls, that sort of thing. Okay. Or as preservation is another motivation. Now, this could be a sense of history, like, oh my gosh, this thing is just going to be lost to history, like I felt about my house to a certain extent, and we can't let this house get knocked down. Let's buy it and fix it up. It could also be preservation of memories, personal memories, family memories. And it could also be sentimentality, people holding on to things. Now, we've discussed you might be holding on to things that you don't really feel that connected to, but for some reason there's familial sentimentality. So we don't want you to be burdened with those things. But if it's important to you, that could be a reason to collect.
Well, this is interesting because I haven't really thought about why I collect. And really the only thing I collect is dishes. But that's interesting. I don't know that. I just think they're beautiful. So I can't really even tell you that there's a reason beyond that, except I'm just very drawn to them.
Think as we're going through this list, and we're going to get to that one that you mentioned, and maybe that's all it is. And it's not bad if there's another reason other than you just love it. But there are reasons why, so say the psychoanalysts, and now us, DTT. Seeking community and learning. So that's a great reason to be motivated to collect. You want to find like-minded people that enjoy what you enjoy. And probably you're going to go doing some deep dives on what you collect. I would imagine Anita knows a lot about the dishes that she collects, and she knows which one she's looking for. So I have never done this before. I looked into what I collect, which is the white ironstone, and those little pictures that I'm, sort of obsessed with. Of course there's a group. It's an association. I could join for $40 a year.
Oh, well, jump right on that, Kelly.
And it drills down. So it's the white ironstone.
Wow.
And then there's
that's oddly specific.
Oddly specific. And then there's tea-stained ironstone. I didn't know anything about that. Maybe I have some of that. I don't know. So after we record, I'm actually going to spend a little time looking further into these two organizations. I'm not sure that I'm going to join because that's not really my motivation. I don't need to be with other people that like ironstone, but I think it's cool that there's a group.
like it. So we're together, kind of.
Yeah, there's a group for everybody, right? I have enough friends, but that's okay. It's a form of addiction. So that might just be a person might have an addictive type of personality. And this is when you're going to be a little scared about your collection, maybe. It's just, it's taking over your house or wherever you live. And it's just too much. And you're not really even enjoying it. It's just the idea of getting more. Need for control and arranging. So if you find yourself dusting your little doodads and lining them up all the time, that might be a different type of motivation other than just that you love them. Financial investment. So maybe that's harkening back to my mention of modern art or any kind of art. If you're collecting art, you might be doing it because you think someday that this artist is going to be very famous and then, wow, you're going to really be able to sell this for a lot more than you bought it for. That's a great reason to be motivated, but you don't have to do a lot of learning about whatever your item is or whatever your category is. So you're making a good investment. And here is the bell ringer. The one we're probably all falling into is enjoyment, aesthetics, and pleasure. You just like those damn dishes. You just really want more because you like them. You like to use them. You like to see them on a wall. You like to pile them up. Whatever you like to do with whatever your thing is, you just really like it. For whatever reason, that thing makes you all tingly and you just want to collect it.
Okay, I think I fall into that category. They're just beautiful. But, the interesting thing is about like the people that hoard, like I love my collection of dishes. However, I am the opposite of a hoarder. I can't stand having clutter in my house. In fact, it's a very controlled collection because it's not overflowing. I kind of try to keep it within certain bounds. And so when I feel that I have too many things, I do cull the collection. I do some editing and get rid of some pieces so that it kind of always fits in a certain space. So I do try not to buy stuff, but on occasion I do. But yes, I think it's just beautiful. So I think that probably a lot of our listeners like the beauty of it, like we do.
Oh, I would think so. I mean, I think most people are going to fall into that last category. I mean, there might be a little bit of a connection to one of the others. Maybe you collect something that your grandma collected or your mother or your sister or your brother or something. So it has also history and sentimentality and some memories are wrapped into it. So, but I think most people are going to fall into that last category. Probably a good idea just to go through a couple of other things that I researched and thought about before we get into the specific items because of something you just mentioned, Anita, how to collect. Right? So first you're going to see what you're drawn to. And maybe when you first start, and it doesn't have to be old things. It doesn't have to be vintage. It doesn't have to be that you're digging through boxes. Whatever you like. You could like a thing that is brand new and just made. But see what you're drawn to. Right? So out of all the things in the world, does something, silver something or jewelry or what have you. What really rings your bell? Okay. And then drill down on that item. Learn about it. You don't have to join an association. You don't have to meet with other people, but learn about it. And then you'll be a more discerning collector, obviously. And you'll just enjoy that because if you really like it, you're going to want to know about it, right? Display and rotate. So you want to put them out, but you don't want to probably put everything out at the same time because that might be overwhelming, certainly as your collection grows. And what Anita mentioned is the items of lesser quality in your collection, maybe they just rotate out permanently. Is I know for myself, when I first started collecting, whatever, mostly it's the ironstone that I really love and the pictures. And maybe, along the line, there were some other things that I collected. But when you're excited, when you're first collecting something, you'll just grab it, and especially if it's a low price, and maybe it's a lower quality item. And as you go on in your collection and you learn more about it and you're more exposed to it and you see the better items, then those lesser quality ones, maybe you want to rotate those out, let those go back into the universe and, somebody else can find them and get excited. And so you're more discerning over time. And another thing that Anita says a lot, particularly about her plates, is enjoy them and use them. her collection is particularly usable, as some people's collections won't be as usable, but put them out. If it's something you can put something in, put some flowers in it, put some, if it's bowls, put some fruit in it, use them and also display them.
Absolutely. I think that's the fun of having the dishes, is that I do use them. Some of them are antique and I'm kind of concerned about lead content, and those are more just for display. But to me, the whole fun of having them is using them and kind of setting a different table every day. I pull from a different dish, a different color, a different combination of dishes with salad and dinner plates and different glasses. So honestly, to me, it's like a playground of setting the table, and it's something that I can use every day. I don't know that I would enjoy it so much if it was something that was just kind of up on a shelf. Definitely not in a closet somewhere. What's the even point of having it? But if you can interact with it, to me, it's fun to have. And to, like I said, it's just like adult play. Let me set the table different ways. Let me try it with different napkins or different napkin rings. And I just enjoy all of that.
And it's so much safer than some other adult play that you might think about. So,
I don't even want to know what you're talking about.
I love that the dishes are something that you enjoy so much, because I can tell, because I know you, but in your voice, anybody can tell that you really get enjoyment from it. But it's such a wonderful thing that you decided to collect, because it is so eminently usable, and not only usable, but it functions in your daily life. So it's kind of like taking up cooking. Like, that's a great hobby because you have to eat.
Well, but like cooking, it's something that you can share with other people too. And even if they don't share my love of dishes, most people appreciate a beautifully laid table. So they enjoy it. They think it's beautiful. It makes the event festive. So it's something that kind of other people can share in the joy of, at least for a meal here or there. And I always told Evie, if you will cook, you'll never spend a holiday alone. Like obviously she's spending them with us, but you're just not going to be alone. People will, if you will cook, people will come over to your house for a meal if they know you're a great cook. So I am so delighted that she has picked up the love of cooking recently, and it's just such a useful skill. Unlike some skills or interests people have, like you were saying, it's great for them, but it's not really something that they can share with other people.
Yes, and her interest in cooking and your interest in laying a gorgeous table dovetail. So you're a great team, as usual. So what are some of these items that are hot? I'm putting like air quotes, hot, for 2025 in the collector's realm. Now, I will say personally, I don't think that any collection needs to be on trend, and you shouldn't necessarily jump on a trend bandwagon for anything, which is what we tell you all the time. But for collecting, that really has to be something that comes from your heart. But here's some things that we're going to be highlighting today that seem to have bubbled to the top recently, and it might be something that you want to get in on. Maybe you're not a collector at all, and maybe some of these things would really strike your fancy.
That's right. So these are hot right now. So these may be things that you see in magazines, on Pinterest, on Instagram. So these are the kind of things that we're seeing. And, there's kind of a good news, bad news when things are hot. The good news is they tend to become ubiquitous. They're easier to find because everyone's kind of displaying them. The downside is when they get hot, they get more expensive.
Yes. Well, I found that because I have a sub collection, or a smaller collection of landscape paintings that I have had for years. They're not that easy to find, but I would find, and I don't want to spend a lot of money on them. So if I'm finding them at an estate sale or something like that, I pick them up. Usually seascapes, something like that. But a couple of years ago, the landscape paintings went crazy, right? They were everywhere. And you still see them all over Etsy, but it's like, a printable one. Like, I don't want that. I want one that was painted like by a Sunday artist, or,
right,
a marginal artist,
right,
just something that just I love. And maybe it looks like, I have one that looks like Mount Whitney in my mind, and I climbed Mount Whitney. So yeah, that made sense to me. Or, I love the beach. Don't worry, none of them are in my bathroom. But I do have beach scenes, but they're hand painted. But they got crazy expensive, and then people were doing these knockoffs all over the place.
Oh, well, that's true. And I love old oil paintings. So I have I wouldn't call it a collection because there's not a massive amount of them, but I do have several, just as decor around the house, landscapes, but also I have a love of portraits. So
yes, and that became really popular too. And you were predating the popularity of that.
Yeah, so those are fun too because you can certainly imagine who was this person, when did they live, what was their life like. It's very interesting. And I have a portrait that I bought from a friend. It's more of a drawing, but he's an expert on a very specific period, French pieces around the time of the Revolution, and I bought it from him, and he said it was a noblewoman and that she likely lost her head during.
Ooh,
that's right, during that time. But I really enjoy her portrait because she's a real person. Sometimes you see a portrait and you're thinking, is that a real person, or was somebody just having fun and painting somebody made up?
Yeah. And you have her intact.
Yes.
You have her neck and everything.
Yes, she's all together. That's right.
Oh, gosh. That's interesting. Wow. I'd like to know more about her. Like, when did that happen? Obviously, after the painting was done. So, what are our items that we're going to talk about?
Well, the first one is kitchen accessories, which is a wide range of products. So, anything that might have been used in a kitchen. So we're talking about beautiful copper pots. These have been very collectible for a long time. I mean, these have always been popular and very expensive. So just keep that in mind if you're going to want to collect these. Vintage bread boxes are popular. Hand crank mixers. I think I sold one of those. I had old rolling pins. I do have several in an old butter churn that I used to keep a door propped open.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah.
Oversized bread or cutting boards. I had a bunch of these when I had a shop. I think I'm selling the last of those. There's a lot of reproduction pieces out there. Mm-hmm. The originals are about 4 times the price, so those are very expensive, but pretty easy to tell if you start looking closely whether it is old or not. And when you're collecting these things, don't be afraid to mix eras. You can have things from different time frames. It's just fun to do, and I think it's kind of a cool thing if you have a casual space. A lot of these things are going to be toward the more casual, but definitely the cutting boards and the copper pots, I would say, are the two kind of higher end pieces, and the pieces that I think are more popular than the rest of the things there, from what I've seen.
Yeah, and I could see collecting the copper pots. I mean, you're not going to want 100 of them, but maybe if you had 5 or something like that, 7. And if you're going to use them, and they're so beautiful, oftentimes if it's a copper pot, you see it displayed, it's on sort of a hanging pot rack or something like that. And they are gorgeous. You have to have sort of the right size kitchen for that to display it. But I think that's a great idea.
If it's antique, is it really safe to put food in? I can't say, just it's a case-by-case basis. But if you are concerned, that's what I would suggest is don't have food come in direct contact with it. Use something as a barrier between your food and the item. And the same goes for old plates. If you're worried about lead paint, use a glass plate on top of the beautiful plate, and your food actually goes on the glass plate, but then you can see the design of the other plate underneath it. I think that's a perfect solution there. But I will say, I have gotten those kits where you can test your plates, and the only ones that came up with lead in them were some 100-year-old hand-painted English plates I had, but the rest of them were fine, and I had some very old plates. So just an FYI.
Vintage lamps. I love a vintage lamp. I like to find them at thrift stores and estate sales, and I would definitely recommend getting them rewired for safety, but vintage lamps are super hot now. Now, again, a thing to collect. Sometimes if someone's thinking about a collection, they're thinking about lots and lots of things. You're not going to have lots and lots of lamps
unless you want to
necessarily.
look like a lamp store.
Unless you want to look like a lamp store. Now, I don't think that's incongruous with me telling you all the time that you need 3 sources of light in each room, but you want varied types of sources. But a signature lamp or a pair of signature lamps in each room is totally what you should be doing, something interesting. So vintage lamps, in particular, Art Deco lamps, seem to be really hot right now. You might want to look around and see what that means. I mean, we all know what Art Deco is, most likely. We've discussed all the types of different decorating styles in many episodes, but I know we had a few specifically on describing each one of the different types of design aesthetic, so you could listen back to one of those. But Art Deco seems to be a nice jolt in a room because most people are not going to have other Art Deco pieces. It's not, they mention it as a trend almost every year. Does it catch on, Anita? No, it really does not. That being said, somebody's really trying to bring back Art Deco lamps right now, but that's just a small piece of a room, and it can create that great tension. So, hey, have a look. See if there's anything out that really, really strikes you. And then, yes, definitely check the wire. If it's really, truly an old lamp, you're going to want to take it to a lamp shop and just have them rewire it for you.
Well, right. So vintage lamps, I think that includes vintage light fixtures as well. I bought a very, very old Belgian chandelier that was just beautiful, but of course wired for Europe. So I had that completely gutted with the wiring and rewired. You do need to find someone who handles that sort of thing, and that isn't that easy to find sometimes. But it's a very unique piece. I'm very happy I have it, and I'm just going to describe some other vintage lamps that I have because I think that there's such a variety of them, and they're all so very different. So one vintage lamp that I had, a set, was some brass lamps, and they looked kind of like a brass and crystal chandelier, only in a lamp version. So they had all these leaves coming up off of the stem of the lamp, and then all these crystals hanging all around it. And those I thought were very fun when I bought them. Then I decided they were a little too much for me. But Evie loved them, so I gave them to her, and we just changed out the lampshade for those. Then I have a black French neoclassical lamp, so it's very dark black with some ormolu on it. Really beautiful, very classic looking. And again, change the lampshade. You're almost always going to have to do that. And the third example I have of a vintage lamp is a hand-painted Italian vintage lamp that's hand-painted. It's a blue color and gold wood. And then I, of course, changed the lampshade on that. So these are all very fun lamps. You can get some brass lamps with the black shades. Those are pretty too. So there's just so many different shapes and sizes, and they're not all the same. They're also very different. So that's really a fun thing to look for.
Yeah, there really is no reason to have a boring lamp unless you've got some other crazy focal points going on in the room. You can really jazz it up with a lamp. So think about maybe starting a small collection of vintage lamps. Here's one that you can collect a lot of, particularly if you have a lot of storage cabinets to store them in: barware and glasses. And Anita's mentioned recently about colorful wine glasses, bar glasses, water glasses, whatnot. The colorful glasses are really on trend for collecting right now. So imagine having maybe a whole set of amethyst, or maybe you break it up. Maybe you have two of each color: greens, purples, blues, yellows, oranges. Could be so fun, especially now that we're sliding into the warmer season.
Go look on eBay and Etsy. There's so many colorful vintage glasses. It's really a fun look, and you're going to see something maybe from your childhood that looks really charming that you might enjoy having. There's really some very fun and whimsical glasses out there. I have a lot of old glasses from my mother-in-law that we inherited, but they're all clear glass or crystal. So that's fine too, but I'm really thinking on the barware and the glasses of something very interesting. And again, if you're setting the table, it's fun to mix it up, not just with different shaped glasses, but different colored glasses. So I think this is a great place to really add some interest to your table. I would buy something that you're planning to use. Why not? Or maybe if you have some shelves, and maybe you have a wet bar, you can put them up on the shelves just kind of for a fun look. So there's so many things that are really charming. I used to have some of those old seltzer bottles. Now, you couldn't actually use them, but I had some in really beautiful colors.
Those were hot for a while.
They were very hot, but then I was like, I was kind of done with them, so I moved them on to someone else. But those you couldn't use. I mean, I like the emphasis on things that you can actually use as much as possible.
I agree. I do use my ironstone little pitchers. I put little greens in them all over the place, and I use them for milk or half and half and sauces, and I even use them for the salad dressing that I make. So I am using them. I have so many of them, I can't use each one of them on a daily basis, but there are a few that go-tos that I'm always using. So they're just in the cabinet rather than out on display. The other thing with the barware and the glasses is if you got that bar cart that was so hot for a long time, but several years ago, I think about 5, maybe even 10 years ago, the bar cart rolled on the scene and everybody wanted to have a bar cart, and all these bloggers were decking out their bar carts. Well, sometimes you see a bar cart in someone's house, or even in a magazine, and it's got mostly liquor bottles on it, and then sometimes even people have the cans of maybe the tonic or stuff like. That's not really the way you want to set it as a decorative piece, particularly if it's in one of your common areas where you want to be entertaining or you just want it to look good all the time. This is a perfect place to get some cool barware, maybe one of those shakers and a few other items where you could actually making maybe more like old-fashioned type of cocktails, and then some beautiful glasses. And the beautiful glasses you have, well, it's a great idea to have them displayed. Use them. You can buy just regular plain water glasses, but why not use some beautiful glasses? They don't have to be vintage. They can be brand new. There's all sorts of beautiful glasses out there that you can get for not much money on, various sites, but also at a thrift store. There's always aisles of glassware. So why not pick up something really pretty and use that instead of just a plain water glass?
So it's not just glasses we're talking about. We're talking about little shot glasses too. Those are fun, and they used to make them, well, they still do, the kind of a collector's item as a souvenir when you would go somewhere. So there's
oh my gosh, they're in all the ABC stores, like in Hawaii and all those places, like the little shot glasses
all the
with
souvenir
the bikini top.
Yeah, all the souvenir shops usually have shot glasses. So I think that's what we put our supplements in. We use the shot glasses for that.
You guys are so fun.
Oh, we're so exciting. I know. So shot glasses, what about a vintage ice bucket? I think those are fun.
Oh,
maybe an elegant champagne bucket. And again, those were really hot for a while. I had several, and I think I'm selling off my last few ones. I mean, I liked them, but I'm kind of ready to move on to something else. And then there's always some fun mid-century modern highball glasses in different colors and have different things on them. So it's always fun. And I think at one point we had some glasses that said, my dad worked for Phillips 66. So I think we had a lot of Phillips 66 things. And I think we had some glasses at one time, which are long gone.
Those would look so great with those French plates.
Yeah, not really my style, but it works for some.
That's really creating tension right there on the tabletop.
Yeah, you're causing tension in my brain right now. I don't think I can handle
that's so
this.
funny. I'm pushing the bounds of design. Come on. Fashion accessories as decor. I did this. I was much younger, but I loved vintage clothing. That's probably was my gateway to loving vintage furniture and textiles and all that. I love vintage clothing.
So what era did you buy from?
Oh, just about anything. I mean, if it was fabulous, and certainly if it had some sort of lame on it or something, I was all over it. But that is the way I shopped when I was younger with certain friends of mine. In fact, even I'll never forget this day. It was so magical. My 3 best friends, Maureen, and Meg from high school, we went to a vintage store out on Eastern Long Island. It was a really rainy day, and we went there specifically to find ourselves prom dresses, and we had so much fun, and we each got a prom dress. I think one was sort of a gunny sack situation, which was, old enough then, but not that old. But mine and the other 2 were from the 50s. Incredible. So beautiful with all the crinolines and the whole thing. It was so fun.
Well, you need to buy them because they have something here at Round Top called the prom when the show is going on, and you're supposed to wear your old prom dress to it or a new one. So you need to go
how
buy
fun.
some.
Why didn't we go to that when we were there?
Because we were exhausted.
I guess maybe. But you say prom, I say go. Okay, so what I did back in the day, I collected vintage handbags. I still have a lot of them, but like I mentioned earlier, I definitely rotated them out because initially I would just buy anyone I saw.
That would make such a fun display to have them on a wall somewhere. Have you done that?
I did that.
Oh,
I did
nice.
that. It was a long time ago. I had a big closet in one of the apartments that I rented, and I probably wasn't so making all those holes in the wall, but I did hook them, put them on little hooks all over the wall. The other thing about it is that I used them then, and I still use them now. I have a very curated collection of them now, and I do add to it occasionally if I see something spectacular. Like I have this feather bag that it's my go-to fab bag. Like you just have a black outfit on and you pull that out. Woo! So that's a fun thing to do. And you don't have to go overboard with it, but you can just maybe two or three. Let's go with odd numbers as we always like. So 3 beautiful little handbags, and they were so detailed and all the beading. They're just stunning. And my girls love to borrow from me now too, so they're getting new life, and so these handbags have been around a long time, and then sometimes you open them and they smell like the perfume of the woman who had the bag. I love that. Or there might be a little something in there. I know I found a little piece of jewelry at one point. There was a little handkerchief in another one, just little pieces of that person's life. So they're special, the handbags. I think it's very personal.
I think that's fun. Well, our old house, we had that very large closet. It was so large, I called it my dressing room. And I had a section in there where there was some open shelving. That's where I stored my Kate Spade bags. And Evie just loved that so much. She said that would be her dream to have a closet like that someday. And I said, honey, we can make your dreams happen now in your apartment. I said, go buy a Billy bookcase, which she did, and we're just going to put your purses on there. We're going to put it in your bedroom. And we did, and she just loves it.
Oh, how fun. That's so great.
Plates, dishes, of course. That's my favorite thing. And you know what's hot right now is cabbageware. So the cabbage plates are very big right now, and if the Bordello brand is kind of the quintessential one, which is made in Portugal, and those you're going to pay a pretty penny for. But there's a lot of different ones. I have coral-colored cabbage bowls, purple cabbage bowls, green cabbage bowls, and plates, and I've had them in light green, dark green. So all of these are beautiful, and that's just one kind of plate, of course. Any kind of vintage or antique dishes would go into this category. And I love the antique transferware plates, Staffordshire. I have a large collection of, I shouldn't say large, but a collection of French transferware and faience plates. So I love the French ones. I love the English ones, a lot of Spode. I think the thing to do if you want to have a collection of different plates to use on your table, the old idea was you buy a whole set, dinner plates, salad plates, bread plates, soup bowls, fruit bowls, cereal bowls, serving bowls, salt and pepper, gravy boat. That's just not done anymore. And you don't really need all those pieces. Just buy some kind of white or generic pieces for your serving bowls and for your gravy boat or that sort of thing. And then what I do is just buy maybe four of each kind of plate I like. And then I mix and match them. I try to buy colors that go together. And I buy new, I buy old, and it's just fun to mix and match and then have different sizes, maybe so you can stack them, have some charger plates, some dinner plates, some luncheon plates, salad plates. They're all different sizes. So your charger plates are going to be around 13 inches. Your dinner plates are going to be around 10. Luncheon plates are for lunch. They're a little bit smaller than a dinner plate. They tend to be around 9 inches. Salad plates are around 8 inches, and then your bread plates are more like 6. So you can see how pretty it would be to stack all those up, and that's wonderful to use with a charger plate. So, get some things that kind of work together, and I think it's so fun to use them.
Excellent. In my opinion, the best things to collect are on the smaller scale. That's just my opinion, but not tiny. And also not too expensive, things that are functional, things that are not seasonal, And of course, things that work with your decor. You don't want to collect something that doesn't go at all and you can't really display it anywhere. So those are my thoughts on what you might want to consider when you're deciding on something that you want to collect. But just enjoy it for whatever reason you want to amass something. Enjoy it, learn about it, and maybe even join a club.
Well, I think that's a great idea. It's all about collecting something that you love. And I just wouldn't bother if you're not just really attracted to it. Even if you say, I'm going to collect fill in the blank, and you see something, go, oh, that goes with the collection, but I don't like it. I wouldn't buy it. To me, this is about enjoying it and having fun with the items. So I would not bother with something unless it's really calling your name. And, those things that I bought in the beginning because they were a great price, like you talked about, I just don't do that anymore. It has to be something that's in one of the categories I like. And I kind of narrowed it down to, maybe plates had to be made in certain countries, certain brands, certain colors or whatever. So, it's something that you can do to narrow it down if you feel too overwhelmed with what to buy. Just kind of narrow down to these particular brands I really like or something. And as far as, all these things you can find out shopping at flea markets, antique shows, thrift stores, resale shops. They're really everywhere. But if you really want it, you can't find it in your town, go on eBay. There's a vast selection of no matter what it is you want, they've got it there. And, you can see the pricing and you can kind of see what is available. And I have definitely bought things online not that long ago, and it's a great source.
So what are we defining today?
We are defining a pounding party. Do you know what this is?
I'm not going to venture a guess there.
Yeah, that's probably the best. So a pounding party is a gathering where guests bring a pound of food staples like flour or sugar to help stock the pantry of a new couple or family, typically a new pastor. And this has come up because our church, I live in the country now, has a new pastor coming in and they are giving him a pounding party. So I thought, okay, that would be a good thing. And it really referred to...
Okay. I was like, this is not really happening in the world today,
no,
but it
is. It is happening here. So
okay, I thought this was like paw and half pint and on the prairie. Okay,
we're still doing it. So it tended to be back in the day when a minister was going to a parsonage and they would go clean it out and get it set up and then stock it with all these things. So it's kind of the opposite of a housewarming, and in that a housewarming is hosted by the owner of the home. This is hosted by the community to provide staples to a new family coming in. And although in the old days it tended to be a pound of this, a pound of that, a pound, which is where the name came from. But I think today it would be more like, some, I don't know, packaged like foods, probably canned
like
goods.
A chair,
no, it's stuff for your pantry
as well.
It's stuff for your pantry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not furniture. Yeah, you're thinking too big. Yeah, just kind of, and consumables for your pantry.
Okay, well, that's interesting. What is your crush?
Well, my crush is a new kind of floss. And you might say, okay, here she goes again. But this one, you're going to understand when I explain that a lot of the flosses, and I mean major brands, have PFAS chemicals in them. And these are very toxic. And they're doing some studies and finding out that almost all of these major brands have these chemicals in them. So that was not something that made me very happy. And so I was looking for some floss that wasn't plastic. And I found some made by a company called Mother Earth. This is biodegradable bamboo charcoal dental floss. And it's made with natural candelilla wax and peppermint essential oil. It is non-toxic and not plastic. And here's the fun thing. This company is... What?
Here's the fun thing?
The fun thing is that it's a husband and wife team.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
Well,
okay.
He's from Brazil. She's from Washington State. And so it's a small business and it's an American-owned business. And so it's just a great way to support a small American business. And so they're really trying to keep those chemicals out of our bodies, and they're trying to work on products that are plastic free. So I can really get behind that.
I love it. Yes, behind and in between, since it's a floss. I love that. Okay, good one. I have an earthy kind of crush too.
Oh, good.
It's this wonderful book about your soil. So we're talking about floss and soils. Crushes. It is the foundation of any good garden, any great garden, and yours will be great if you have a great foundation, is the soil. So if you need to learn about your soil, if you're worried about your soil, having your soil checked doesn't really give you all the information you need, because one part of your garden could have a certain type of soil and another part. So it's best just to improve all of your soil. And this is written by a garden designer and educator, Juliet Sargent, along with one of my fave places on planet Earth, the Royal Botanic Gardens at Kew. I think everyone can really get a great start on their garden with this book and the information in here. It's called Start with Soil: Simple Steps for a Thriving Garden. It's a small volume. It's going to give you all the info that you need, and you're going to have a beautiful garden. And a lot of you are just going to be starting to get outside and get it going. So it'd be a great book to get your hands on.
Sounds wonderful. I love that you give us so many tips for the garden.
Okay, so fun today. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed doing the research about collecting too, because I didn't really ever think about that so much. It's just, you kind of know what your own motivation is. So thank you for hanging out with us today. And remember, we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time. Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.